Choosing the right amp. Does size matter? When it's time to pick your first amp, there's a lot of different choices you're going to have. So let's talk about this for a little while. First of all, the different types of amps that there are. There's tube amps, and these amps have actual radio tubes inside them, and they heat up, and that's how it generates the sound within the amp. Tube amps are generally a little bit more expensive. The bigger amps are usually tube amps, and they do take a little bit more care. You're gonna eventually have to change the tubes after so many different hours, depending on which type of amp and which tubes are in those amps. So, but many players will only play tube amps because of the distinct sound that they get. It does have a nice warm tone to them, or a nice crunch with like a Marshall stack or a PV stack. They have great sounds when you heat those tubes up. So those are tube amps. The other type are solid state amplifiers. And solid state has transistors in it, so you're not going to have the upkeep of getting tubes that you're going to need to get all the time. But some people think that it has more of a canned sound. I like the solid state amps as well. I think they have a unique tone to them. And like I say, there's a lot less care, especially if I know I'm going to be playing an amp every day for 6 hours. I just use a solid state amp. This way I don't have to change the tubes every 2 months, because it could get costly. Now, there's also different sizes of amps. Let's talk about that. There's a combo amp, and a combo amp has a speaker and the amplifier or head, it's called, all in one box. So it could have 2 speakers and the amplifier, but it's all in one container, say, a wooden box. And that's a combo amp, it's called, because you're combining the speakers with the electronics. The other type of amp is going to be a stack or a half stack. And that's going to have the speaker cabinet with an amplifier on top. And a full stack is when you have 2 speaker cabinets with the amplifier on top. That's like if you're going to play like a Coliseum or an amphitheater somewhere. So if you're just starting out, you probably don't need a full stack. And they're very expensive as well. But when you're first starting out, you could get a small amp, like it has an 8-inch speaker with, and a lot of these modern amps today, they have effects built into them where you get reverb or even chorusing and delays and distortion, of course. Many of the amps will have different channels, like a clean channel where you could get a cleaner tone, which would be more like that. Make it sound like you could make your electric guitar sound like even like an acoustic guitar, or you could get a little bit more distortion. And finally, you get the full gain when playing more lead guitar. So those are the different types of sounds that your amp will get. But when you're ready to get your amp, I recommend that you go to your local music store, talk to them, have them show you a few different models, have them show you a tube amp, have them show you a solid state amp, and obviously you're going to have certain budgets to work that will give you some constraints. But that's a good place to start with. Hopefully I cleared some issues up with you that you might have. You might have been uncertain of what type of amp to get, and think about these things that we talked about and pick the right amp, and you'll be rocking out.